I am born again. I am a born again Christian. As you can see, I am a mature Christian. I'm actually a grandmother. I have 3 adult children, and 2 of my children are married, so I'm a grandmother. So, what else do you know? I'm a practicing counseling psychologist. I usually do marriage and family therapy, then on one-on-one. And of late, I'm very interested. I had to go back to school and study, interested in how does our childhood affect our adulthood. And so even if what we are going to do today is related to that, how does our childhood affect our adulthood? And so we are only going to do one aspect, relationships and attachment, but there are so many other things. There's something I just like as I start to tell you. One, as adults, we are products of our environment. As adults, we are products of our environment. And I want to add, we are products of childhood environment. So we are products. Products of childhood environment. Childhood. Very good, very important. The environment we grew in gave us beliefs about ourselves and even about other people. It equipped us or helped us form opinions. And we work with that. In fact, in attachment, we call it internal working model, isn't it? Internal working model. So we work with that. In all our relationships, in all who we are, and the relationships here, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, I'm talking about all human relationships. That we have an internal working model, and we received from our childhood. I want us to understand that because that's the basis of our today's workshop. Number 2, as human beings, we are what? We are, let me put it this way, we are thinking beings. We are thinking beings. We are social beings. We are emotional beings. I like what Angela was saying that prepares, sometimes in church we work so much on the spiritual, yet we are also these others. We are thinking, social, emotional, spiritual, physical. Yes, physical. And each affects the other. Each one of them affects the other. So we may today talk about the emotional, but most of our parents really work on taking us to the best schools. Our teachers work on developing our thinking. Some of you are seated here, have their degrees, their masters, You've done well, and you think. Cognitively, you are developed. Then socially, yes, they connect us with others. They connect us with others. Spiritual, is that how we write spiritual? No. Spiritual, we are, that's why we are in a church, isn't it? Developing our spiritual being. And in fact, for some of us, like my parents were Christians, so they took me to Sunday school from age 3, isn't it? So spiritually we are developed, taken to Sunday school. I've walked around, I've seen your classes for Sunday school. So spiritually we develop us. Physical, we are very good at that. Give the right diet, do exercise. Some of you are in gym, developing your physical being. Usually this is what suffers, emotional being. Yet relationships, it's about emotions. And we are not complete if we are not socially developed and if we are not emotionally developed. We are not. We are not. We are not. So today, actually, that is why we are here, and I'm glad we are here, that we can look at ourselves and say, how can we then look at our emotional being? How did I become who I am? What can change? Because the beauty with all this is that each one of them can be changed, even in adulthood, can be developed, can be worked on, even in adulthood. So we cannot blame our childhood environment forever. We cannot. Many of us would blame our childhood environment forever, but then we need to work on what is it that we can do for ourselves and for the sake of the others we associate with, isn't it? For the sake of developing and building relationships, because that is what God made us to be. So that is what I'm going to introduce. Let me call it introduction. Because this, I remember when I was doing attachment, when I was studying in my doctorate program, it was a whole semester, just that attachment. So you can imagine I'm just introducing, isn't it? Yeah, it was a whole semester. How does our attachment affect who we are? So it's a very, very deep program, very, very deep. But like I said, we will touch on it today. Allow me, I am a teacher. Does that make sense? So if I talk, it's because I'm a teacher, isn't it? It's not coming. And it's so important that it does. So important that it does. What could be it? Not connected. It's telling me, oh, you have connected, okay. Good. Let's start there. You are saying what comes to your mind when you think of attachment. Huh? Yeah, put it on slideshow. What comes to your mind when we're talking about attachment? Or why did you come today? Why did you come today?
I just came to learn. Because
you came to learn. Okay, why did you come today?
to learn.
To learn. Okay, why did you come today?
I was invited.
You are invited. Good. 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 So we can look at that baby and the mother. You can almost feel the love and the warmth, isn't it? And the baby is literally looking at the mother, growing with the mother. I wish that happens to every child. Because that's where attachment starts. That's where attachment starts. That, we say in psychology that the adults around us are mirrors. They are actually mirrors. So what happens, they teach you, even before you know how to talk, that you are important, isn't it? When a baby is born, when baby is trying to walk, it is the adults around them that clap, isn't it? Go ahead. When you come and smile at that little child, you are actually telling them you're passing a message they are important. You're passing a message that they are lovable. When you hug them, you're passing a message that they are huggable, isn't it? They are good. They are accepted. They are okay. And you are happy with who they are. And that's where the message starts, with the caregivers, with the significant people around that child, and especially with the mother. I repeat, especially with the parents, and more significantly with the mother. Because the mother is the one with the child breastfeeding and even, scratching, holding the leg. You should look at a baby breastfeeding, the way they smile at each other with the mother, the way they communicate, the way the warmth is communicated. So important. So I was going to actually show you where this started. There's a scientist called John Bowlby. Bowlby is the one who did an experiment and started attachment. And what he did, he actually came to Uganda and started doing experiments. You know the way the Africans carry their babies, isn't it? At the back. And the way the babies live in the community. He did that experiment. He also did with monkeys. And Bowlby noticed that he had a wire mesh caregiver, a wire mesh, and another comfy mother with very soft blanket, and gave the monkey some milk. They put the milk with the wire mesh mother. Rough. You see that? Put the baby monkey with the wire mesh mother. And there was the mother with the blanket next. So if he introduced a scary movement, the baby monkey would leave the milk and run to the soft, comfortable mother. Are we together? So it's not just the feeding, it's not just what we eat. The baby monkey wanted that comfort. When something scary happens, then what he actually needed is to go to the comforting mother. Forget about the milk. Forget about the feeding. He would run to the comforting mother. And that's where attachment study started. Every time, I think it's the second. Yeah, that there. Let's go. Yeah, there. So he experimented with this as monkey and created two surrogate mothers. One, like I have said, with the wire mesh, the other one with the comfortable blanket. And of course, so I want to tell you, all of us, it's just not the food our mothers gave us. It's not just the food that our mothers gave us. It's not just the school that our mothers took us. What did they do with our emotions? What did our parents do with our emotions? What did our fathers do with our emotions? Like I said, many give us everything we need for this life, except they do not help us with our emotions. So attachment, Bob defined attachment as the relational bond between the caregiver and a child. The relational bond, which I'm saying we are products of our childhood, isn't it? Yes, the relational bond. What relational bond we have with our caregivers? It was for our attachment style, our attachment capability, our attachment started when we attached to those who cared for us as children. The poor attachment to a caregiver can damage the well-being of the infant. You can imagine for that monkey, the way the scary situation was introduced, and he ran to the surrogate, comfortable mother. Do you know that is what many children go through, isn't it? Like I told you, I'm a practicing counselor. In fact, that's what I do. These days I teach part-time. But I'm more of a counselor. And I meet cases and cases and cases, stories of children who, one of my clients was telling me their father was a military, worked with the military, and he was a military man even at home. So what they do when they are watching TV is that one of them must be on duty. When you hear the car, what want you if you don't hear and you're the one on duty enjoying TV, and then daddy comes and meets everybody? What want to you? You see the scary situation. So she was telling me how one of them will be on duty to listen when daddy comes, and then they all run to the bedroom. Or they all run to do their homework. Or they all run to do the right thing. And the right thing is what daddy would want, isn't it? So imagine those children if they don't have a comforting mother like the monkey, isn't it? And the scaring father. Imagine if the mother was the scary one. Or they are both the scary one, isn't it? So, how would that child not develop anxiety, even in older age? It's like you hear it. And so many things trigger our childhood, isn't it? Trigger our childhood. I'm laughing because last week I'm in a board somewhere of a secondary school, and the teachers were saying they met. One of the teachers she's the deputy in charge of discipline. So she was telling us she went to town and met one of the old students, and the student stood almost attention, isn't it? Because she associates the teacher with discipline. And that even you are out of that school, she has no power over you, but you meet her in town and something triggers your high school days, isn't it? Yeah. And we all laughed, but that is, how many things that trigger? How many things that trigger? And that's why we say we are products of our environment. So what determines successful attachment? So they demonstrated the nurturance and responsiveness were the primary determinants of attachment. Nurturance and responsiveness. Even before I cover the styles, the different styles, I want us to remind ourselves, responsiveness. If you are number one from school and you came running home and you told your mom, Mommy, just listen to this. I want to tell you. And she was too busy. Or she was not there. Or you are living with people who are not responsive to you. What happens? You say it's not important. Why bother? Keep it to yourself. Isn't it? That's what you would do. Another one goes home. Mommy, just listen to this. And the mother sits down to listen. Then, that's good. That's my boy. Won't you do it tomorrow? Isn't it? Yeah. So responsiveness and nurturance are so crucial to how we attach to other human beings. How we are responded to and how. So importance of attachment, number one, it's a safe haven. Number two, it helps us deal with separation distress, that you can go back and you are refilled. It helps us feel secure. It helps us feel secure. And you can maintain proximity without running away, isn't it? That's what attachment does for us. So the need for attachment is inborn. It's actually inborn. It's in it. It's inborn. It is inborn. All of us are born with that need. We don't are just attached to meet basic needs like feeding. We have seen that with Bobby. It will help us even regulate our emotions. It helps us regulate our emotions. Yesterday was a Friday, and I do my therapy on Fridays. And I had somebody who came, looking. They have offices near where we are in Hurlingham. So he came, and he was just looking for a counselor. And so I was the one who was around, and I gave him a few minutes before the next person came. And he told me they separated with the wife 2 years ago. And since that time, he's just going down, down, down. So yesterday, the employer had told him, if you don't go for counseling, I'm going to sack you. But I'll give you a second chance. And please come back and tell me you started. So he wanted just anybody. Fortunately, he fell in my hands. I needed to listen to him. And if the employer gave my number, and if the employer called, I said, yes, he came, and we have a schedule how we are going to do it. But he came today. For him not to lose his job. But the thing is, that separation, he cannot regulate his emotion. That separation alone has destroyed him, and he is in a self-destructive path. Just because that relationship ended. Because I don't know the history. I wouldn't tell you his story because I don't know it. We just reached there. And we scheduled them to meet next week. But the thing is, for some, they can manage. Others, it destroys them. Are we together? Yeah, others totally destroyed. Yeah. So regulating our emotion in time of distress and also to face challenging situations. Regulation of our emotions in times of distress. Others will go in an angry, and beat everybody and hit tables. They cannot regulate their emotions. Others, it's a small thing. And somebody will ask you, Was that enough to get you there? What is it that in fact, the people around you don't know what they have done because it's not necessary to have such high emotions. Was that? Why? Because that person does not know how to regulate their emotions, isn't it? Yeah, because maybe they were never nurtured, they were never comforted, they never modeled. Yeah. So it also helps the infant in developing what I called internal working model. I think I mentioned it earlier. So how we view ourselves and view others. It does. And even how to operate and understand the world in which we live. That's what attachment teaches us, even in our young age. Of course, it helps the infant in developing, of how to view self and others. I think I'm repeating myself there. So we go to what we call the attachment styles. Okay. Why are you smiling?
No, I'm waiting to hear.
You are keen to hear? What is the one thing? You know, I'm a teacher, so I ask, are we together? In fact, that's my students know me. Are we together? Then they know. Tuko pamoja. Then I can continue. Tuko pamoja. Tuko pamoja. What is the one thing you have picked? I don't know why I'm picking on you all the time. Because you're near me. Yes. What is it?
What I've picked so far is that attachment goes way back.
Way back. What is the one thing? If we had to stop now.
The situations we find ourselves in, if we are appreciated or consoled in situations we face, it resonates. Either you take the world at a negative or at a positive.
I like that. Yes, it helps us. It forms how we take the world. Yes, and even not just the others, even ourselves. And like I said, the people around us are mirrors. They pass the message whether we are important or we are not, isn't it? Yeah. For many of us, for those of you who are parents, and those of us who have brought up parents, when we bring interview a house help, we look whether she is clean, isn't it? Whether she is tidy, whether she's cooking, isn't it? And we leave our babies with people who cannot respond to that child. We come home in the evening, we are checking whether it's clean. The house is clean, isn't it? And so, whether the baby has eaten, but we don't interview on emotional nurturance. So we can have people who really, and that's the caregiver. That's the person who is with the baby. 8 hours, isn't it? That's the person who needs to respond to the pain of the baby. Whether they are crying because they are wet, whether they are crying because they have been hurt, they have fallen, how they are responded in distress. And yet, we usually interview on cleanliness and whatever else, whether they can do homework with the child, but we don't attend to emotional nurturance. And it's such a crucial thing. Because that will determine that person will look at themselves, whether they have self-confidence, their self-esteem, or how they look at others and think others are better than them. Isn't it? Yeah. So nurturance is such an important aspect, but we usually give attention to others. So attachment styles are how we interact, react, respond, and behave in a relationship. How we interact, how we react when something happens, when the strange situation happens, isn't it? How we react, how we respond and behave also. So it's about behavior, about responding, and about interacting and reacting. That will determine how we attach, how, how our attachment style is. So we have one we call secure. Like I told you, we are products of our childhood. And so, as children, we are able to separate from our parent and come back and feel safe. We seek comfort from parents when frightened, or we know they will not comfort us. Unalia nini? If I say that, one of my clients was telling me she's actually learning at her 50s to express emotions. Because if she came home, she's crying, and she will be told, "You look so ugly when you're crying." So who wants to remain ugly, isn't it? So you don't cry. Imagine coming to your mother and they tell you, stop crying. You look so bad. You look so ugly when you are crying. Yeah. So would that child seek comfort? They go and cry in the bedroom. Yes. It greets the return of parents with positive emotions because they know they're accepted. Prefers parents to strangers. So as adults, you have trusting, lasting relationships. You tend to have high self-esteem because your mirrors told you you are fine, you are okay. They nurtured. You seek out social support. You are not so secretive. You've heard people say, "I'm so private. I've only one friend." You have heard such people, isn't it? "I'm so private." They don't seek social support. They have no friends. They have no friends. They are comfortable sharing feelings. Yeah. If I'm hurt, I was responded to. Even now, I'll share my feelings. Now, can you imagine a couple, or you are in a relationship, and somebody hurts you, and you never tell them? Isn't it sad? Very, very sad. Very sad. But there are so many such relationships. Yeah, there are many. You are hurting and you are not telling them. Then why stay? So if you are secure, you are actually comfortable sharing feelings. You seek social support because as children, you were responded to. So we have a positive view of ourselves. We are open and trusting. We see self as an equal partner, isn't it? Yeah. I told you I'm a marriage and couple counselor and family therapist, and I see a lot of relationships where one partner gives and gives and gives. Some will tell me, "I learned to study the mood the person comes in." That's what you did. You remember the one I was telling you about children and the army father. Now this one is a husband, married for over 10 years. And you actually have given everything you knew about yourself. Because you are not an equal partner. The other person is more important. The other person must be pleased to keep the peace, isn't it? So you sets and so secure one will set and respect boundaries. You don't say that to me, please. I don't like it when you say that. You know, I'm setting boundaries. So next time, if you're telling me something hurting, you remember, I thought we agreed, when you say such things to me, I'll not take it. When you do that, I don't like it, and I hope you respect that. I'm setting boundaries about myself, isn't it? If you are secure, you will be able to do that. If you are insecure, you will not. If you are secure, you rely on self and others. You can ask help. You also trust your decisions because you feel secure about self. If you are secure, you can listen to other perspectives without feeling threatened, isn't it? Yeah, if you are secure, do you know if you called me whatever name you call me today, maybe after being a psychologist for a long time, I will start wondering, is that what you saw in me? If I have a friend who is insecure, they will say, why did they say that? I wonder what I did or how I look for them to think that, isn't it? You see the difference? If you are secure, you can take others' perspectives. You can call me a dog. Why do dogs look like this? They don't, isn't it? The other person will say, imagine. I'm feeling so hurt. Angela came and of all animals, she called me a dog. Then I'll go to him and I'm crying. Imagine that is, I wonder what she saw, isn't it? Well, the secure person will say, do dogs in your village look like this? You see the difference? Yeah, that's the difference between a secure person and one who depends on external validation because they have nothing inside themselves. And in relationships, don't we hurt each other? Don't we say sometimes bad things? Don't we say things that... So some people will run away just because somebody said that. Instead of saying, next time, please, I am not able to take that. I know I'm not a dog. Period. Isn't it? Yeah. So you seek connection and provide space. You seek connection and you also provide space for others to come in when you are secure. When you are secure, you seek connection because you know it is okay, and also provide space for others to come in. When you are not secure, you will not. Some people will try to get close. In psychology, sometimes we say some are pursuers, others are withdrawers. If you are in a relationship and one is pursuer, the minute they come too close, you withdraw, isn't it? Yes. Yes. The beauty with this is because we can change. Who doesn't want a long-lasting and secure relationship, isn't it? Yeah. We are made secure. We feel secure because we were nurtured. We feel secure because we were responded to. Well, we felt secure because we felt understood. We feel secure because we connected with those around us and felt safe. Then we have what we call anxious. We said later we will do that quiz and find where we are. But anxious, we are wary of strangers, distressed when parents leave because we don't know what happened, you're never sure, not comforted when parents return, so whether they leave or they come back, you're just there, associated with inconsistent parenting, that you are never sure what will happen. And like I mentioned, parenting is not just your parents, sometimes it's your caregivers. So as adults, you are reluctant to be very too close. You are anxious. As adults, we worry that partner does not love us. Isn't it? You know, very many relationships where when the other one comes in, somebody picks the phone and they want to check. Now look at me. Like I said, I have adult children, and you can almost tell my age. So one day I received a call from a very young lady. The husband was seeing me. And he really wanted the marriage to work. So he insisted that they go for counseling. The wife was not responsive, so he started seeing me. As he is saying me, he saved me as Lois. I'm Lois Kagwe. Just Lois. Not Lois the therapist or Lois the counselor or what, just Lois. So this young lady always picks and checks when the husband goes to the bathroom. Isn't it? I want to see who he is talking to. And he sees her name Lois and calls me, takes my number and calls me. Are you the one who is dating my husband? To tell you frankly, if I was not a psychologist, I would have really told that young lady off. But I listened. And she talked and talked and talked. And really called me names and what. I'm just listening. In fact, at one point she said, "Are you there?" "Yes, I am." Talking, yeah. Then I asked her, can you give me a minute? I tell you who I am. Yeah, then I told her, I know your husband, so you must be the age of my children, if you are the wife. Number 2, I'm a counseling psychologist, and he's saying, oh, sorry, ma'am. No, just listen to me. Can you imagine how she can call the boss? Isn't it? She can call the boss in the office. She can call your cousin or whoever. If she is calling the therapist, you can call anybody, isn't it? Just because she is insecure, she is so anxious, wait until that man comes late. It's because he was seeing somebody. And I'm sure he's going to leave me. I can see signs. And maybe there are no signs. Isn't it? It has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with her. She's so anxious that she will leave this relationship. She will leave her. She's so anxious that she worries the partner will leave them. Any normal reaction, there could be no matatu. Oh, you are late at work. You are seeing somebody. Isn't it? It could be anybody. You become very distraught when the relationship ends. I told you about that client who came to see me yesterday. Literally destroying his life because a relationship ended. Some even stalk to see whom you are dating now that 1 year after. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with the stalker, isn't it? Yeah. So they become very distraught with their relationship. They cannot sit and feel comfortable and wait for the relationship to grow. They are so suspicious. Anxious people are suspicious. Anxious people are not anxious about that other person. They are also anxious about self. What is it I did? What do I need to do? How do I need to, So they never feel secure. Are we together? That is anxious. And it can be so bad. So anxious people, they are negative, insecure view of self sometimes. So it has nothing to do with the other person. It's about positive view of others. The others could be good, but I'm not. Are they seeing that other person because they are tall and I'm short? Are they seeing other person because, all sorts of things? Are they attracted to the other person because? So anxious people tend toward dependence. So what happens? They depend. They're so dependent on the other person. They fear losing the relationship. Sometimes elevates the partner above self. Sometimes worries about being abandoned. And that is true if you are abandoned, in their childhood. Some people are abandoned because sometimes abandonment can happen from natural causes. The parent died. It is still abandoned. But they're abandoned because the parents divorced and one left. It's still abandonment. You are abandoned because the parent was there but never connected with you. It is still abandonment. So when you are abandoned, you worry later, will this person also go? Will this person go? I already see the signs. This person will go. So you fear being abandoned. And the reason why we teach these things is because you can actually tell yourself, but this is not this other one, isn't it? Yeah. If you're abandoned by your father, this is not your father. If you're abandoned by your mother, this is not your mother, isn't it? You can actually remind yourself. So they are the ones who pursue in the relationship. They pursue, because in their mind, there are so many red flags that tell you you will be abandoned, and maybe they are not there. They are imagination. But you pursue and pursue. So they are pursuers, actually. They are pursuers in the relationship. And they pursue a relationship sometimes which is not working. They can become a nuisance because they don't give that personal space. They don't give that personal space. They can pursue and control because they are afraid of being abandoned. I've talked to people who will tell you they dare not take a matatu because their partner must pick them, take them home. Take them home, isn't it? Yeah. And you know, in relationships, we say in relationships, you can have that relationship. You can have that relationship. You can also have that relationship. This is where everybody does their own thing, isn't it? They even have a complot somewhere where the other one doesn't know. Yeah, they share a house, but usually nothing else. This one is where one is controlled until they are swallowed in. You don't think. This one, this can allow to be swallowed. This person can allow the other person to swallow them, or this controller. For this controller, it can be very tiring, isn't it? Very, very tiring. This is the number. I think that is this is where God wanted us to be. That we still retain our individuality, and we have a lot of things we share, isn't it? A lot of things we share. We are partners in many things, but I can go to my chama and my husband doesn't have to keep calling me or asking. Or I can come here and I just reported like mine, I left in bed, I told him, I'm gone. Isn't it? I teach at night. Now COVID at least have allowed us to teach online. But I teach a class at night, I come home at 9, I'm okay. Isn't it? Do you know there are some people who can't do that? Very many. Very, very many. Because they are swallowed in there. But I still need to maintain my individuality. I still need to pursue my passion and my gifting and my, what God made me to be, isn't it? So I need to retain my individuality and I need to respect the other person's individuality. It's so important. So if you worry about being abandoned, you will not allow this. Because this must be developed. If you worry about controlling, you will be here, but you also. If you are a woman and he is going for his gym or what, you are still worried about whom he's going to meet. I had one marriage couple. And the group from the office, the wife's group from the office, were going to a certain Java for lunch. Office. But then I think they went to that Java, in the CBD actually, went to that Java, found it so full, moved to another one. And then she receives a call. I thought you said you are going to this Java. You are not there. I came. There was no group from the office. You need to tell me whether you are going for an office meeting. Can you imagine? This fellow comes over lunch to check whether you went to the Java. And because you said, oh, we'll be at this Java, and you went to that other Java, you must explain. That is childish control, isn't it? Yeah. Childish control. That you must explain that the office group changed their mind and we moved to this job. It's such nonsense, but it happens. It does happen in relationships because some people are. If you are in a relationship where there is so much control, please run away. It will get worse later in marriage. Are we together? Yes. Because that person worries about being abandoned, and so they will control and control and control. So as, avoidant. That was anxious. This one is avoidant. As children, they avoid parents. They don't seek much contact or comfort from parents and shows no preference of parents of strangers. It's like parents have not special space because they don't nurture, they don't encourage, they don't comfort, isn't it? Yeah. And I meet a lot of people who say, I can't remember pleasant incidents or encouragements in my childhood, either from both parents or from one parent. So, as adults, they may have problems with intimacy. You come too close, I run away, isn't it? They feel uncomfortable about intimacy. They invest little emotion in social and romantic relationships. They do not invest. And the avoidant are unwilling or unable to share feelings with others. So if you are avoiding, if you are the person that avoids, if you are the person that do not, if the relationship starts to mature and you feel like it's developing to another level, the first thing, if you're an avoidant, you do is run away, isn't it? You run away. Fear of commitment. No too much proximity. You run away. You avoid. That's the word. As adults, you avoid. You are not used to it anyway. It was never nurtured when you are young. You are not allowed to share your feelings. So you avoid intimacy. You invest so little emotionally. I said we are thinkers as much as we are emotional beings. Some people are so rational that they only rationalize things and without emotions. I'm sure you have met such people. And relationships are about emotions. In all fairness, relationships are about emotions, isn't it? When there are no emotions, when you can't share your feelings or you are dating somebody who cannot share their feelings, in all fairness, it is so dry and hard. So dry and hard. So if you invest it so little in emotions, ask yourself. So they have a positive view of self, but unstable. Avoidant have negative, insecure view of others. So that's why they keep distance, isn't it? Yeah. They are fearful of intimacy, of course. They are reluctant to rely on others. Reluctant to rely on others. I hear it all the time in therapy. I don't seek help. I would rather do it myself before I ask anybody. Now, if you are in a relationship and you don't enter that space, you're just strangers, isn't it? Yeah, you are strangers. So you're reluctant to rely on others, set rigid boundaries. Very, very rigid boundaries. Seeks distance and avoids attachment. And they avoid and withdraw from conflicts. Yeah, I don't like conflicts. I don't like conflicts. Isn't it? Because conflicts will force you to talk. Isn't it? I hope you are beginning to find yourself. You're beginning to find yourself and asking yourself, where am I? Am I anxious? Am I secure? Am I avoidant? You know yourself. You don't have to tell us. I would rather we don't tell each other. But I can tell you I am secure because I have worked on it for. Because of being a psychologist, I've worked on myself. Isn't it? I've really worked on myself. You can also work on yourself. We can change. Like I said, we cannot blame forever our childhood environment. And maybe when we are here, we need to say, they are also products of their environment, isn't it? They are also products of their environment, and you can't give what you don't have. You can't. You cannot. In fact, one homework I would want to ask yourself to do is do what we call the family map. Look at your grandparents, even to the great-grandparents. Look at your parents. Look at yourself, both sides. What baggage did they bring? What baggage did they... So that way we can forgive them. If you hear people saying, I am a self-made person, they are telling you they are just that, self-made. They were not nurtured, isn't it? So they are thinkers. They work very hard. They make businesses. They do well. But emotionally, and we know them. If you look at the Kenyan there, we know some of Kenyan billionaires. I don't want to name names. Billionaires who are very good at making money, but self-made, but emotionally zero. Emotionally zero. I'm dealing with a lot. Why I needed to do the course on childhood and how it affects our adult. Because you are finding very successful people in the corporate world. Some of my clients are successful. Some are MDs. Some are doctors. Some are lawyers. They're doing very well, very good business people. They are doing well. But they are empty inside. In fact, one of my clients described it so well. And she said, it's like being a donut. You know the donut? It has a hole inside. But outside, they beautify it. They even put some coconut or some water on top. You know the donut. But the donut is filled out. The outer part of the donut is full and beautiful. But there is a hole. There's a hole. So it is so important to work on your emotional self. After all, the Bible says Christ came that we may have and have it in abundance. Exactly. That's why Christ came, that we may have life and have it in fullness. So when you are doing very well, everything is working, and you feel empty inside, I think we should start working even on that. Sometimes some of us do not do very well because we have a poor image of ourselves, view of ourselves, because we were never nurtured and made to feel confident, made to feel competent. We were always criticized. Then we need to tell ourselves that I hear the voice of my Father, but he is no longer powerful over me. I need to accept myself and talk positively about self. So we are damaged by our environment, but we can actually change. So then the fourth one is what we call disorganized. The disorganized one is that at age 1, they show a mixture of avoidant and resistant behaviors. They may seem dazed, confused, or apprehensive. Does anybody teach Sunday school here? No. Who? Yeah. Have you ever seen a child like that young? You have? Eh? Yes, because I know I teach even my students who are, some of them are Sunday school teachers, and they would tell you, Mwalimu, it's like you are in my class. I have a child like that. I have a child like that. It's like they are confused. They feel dazed. They don't give attention to the child. They are too busy. Or, you know, I had one disorganized client, and she told me her parents were very, very wealthy. And she told me when she cried, one time she was bought the same bicycle, like the one she has. So you know the little bicycles with a basket. She's a girl, pink bicycle. So the father brings one. He has no idea. The mother is not too busy to know, oh, he bought. So it's not the bicycle I need, it's you. Isn't it? What am I going to do with two of them identical? So you can see those needs, the needs of that child were never met. And that is what happens.
And the parent was very clear. It's just that they're busy. It was not her, because I think the father was
Exactly. By the way, we are not talking about poverty. We are not talking about nurturing. Isn't it? And all human beings are able to nurture. It's not money that nurtures. It's not toys that nurture. It's not things that nurture. It is the human person, the closeness. Yeah. So they may take on a parental role. They learn to nurture themselves. Isn't it? They don't need you. Some children will even start nurturing their siblings. Take a role that is missing. That is nature. Nature does not like a vacuum, isn't it? So they will start nurturing others. But then they will never be nurtured themselves. So some children act as caregivers towards parents. Because parents are the relationship is very conflictual. They're always fighting. So they learn to take care of the parent that is missing. Yeah. And they take very good parental roles. I deal with them all the time, especially, right now I have two clients. Both of them are university students, young girls, they are both girls. And I'm teaching them, don't take care of your parents. They are the adults, they are the ones who should take care. Don't take care of your mother, she should stand up for herself. Don't take care of your father. You're not the wife. Don't take care of them. Because then you learn to take care of others and you're never taken care of. You don't even know how to receive. Wait until they are in a relationship. They take care, but they don't know how to receive. Isn't it sad? Yeah. So disorganized. They're disorganized in the sense that they don't know what to do. So they have a negative, secure view of self. They want closeness, yet they don't know what to do with it. Yeah. Longs for love and rejects intimacy. Now the two, it cannot work. You long to be loved, but you don't know what to do. Just like what that baby is doing. It's a very young child, I want to imagine. She has not learned to hide her emotions, so she doesn't know. Exactly in adulthood, that's what happens. They struggle with score keeping. You did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. They remind you, Sets and then does not maintain boundaries. Because being disorganized, you are neither here or there, isn't it? So their partner has no idea, what do you want? What do you want? You set boundaries, you don't maintain them. Pursues and withdraws to avoid being hurt. That's exactly what that child was doing. Wants to be close with the teacher, but I am not sure. I asked a similar question in a class I was teaching, and the teacher said when she really forced the child to come near, the child did this until he fell. He is the one who wanted the comfort, but it was too close, too close. And that's a young child. Until the child fell backwards, almost wanting to be held, yet. Do you know that we do that in our adulthood? I want a reaction after this, because then we can start asking ourselves, then what do? We need to keep our relationships. We need to change our attachment style if it's not working. Yes, go ahead.
And how do you help an adult?
An adult.
Who's already in that situation? That is their nature.
That's their nature. We are going to that. That's why I stopped here. That's why I wanted a reaction before we go to that.
I didn't understand struggles with scorekeeping.
With scorekeeping. Struggles with scorekeeping. It's like you are keeping a score. You did this to me, I also do this to you. Isn't it? And I remember everything you did. Yeah, I keep scores. So there are two ways of keeping scores. I keep scores, and I will remind you. You remember what the Bible says, it does not keep a record of, love does not keep a record of wrongs, isn't it? Yes, but when you're disorganized, to feel good, I will keep a score of what you did. I will remind you what you did in 2019. I actually have a relationship. They are not married. But then she was saying, the lady was telling me the other day, he keeps records of everything that I'm so anxious, even to do something innocent, because I'll be reminded. You still remember that? The day you brought that chocolate cake. And then, and you're wondering, when was it? You see, the day you came and you didn't talk, and you expect me when you come, I talk to you. And maybe you had a difficult day in the office. The day you bought your sister this, and you have never bought anything for my sister. Isn't it? They keep scores. They keep scores. Unfortunately, for non-Christians, I'm finding a lot of that. If you move out, I also move out. If you are a friend outside the marriage, I also. And it's happening in Nairobi. A lot. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Discrete categories, or can I be a mixture of everything?
You can be a mixture of a lot. You can be a mixture. Yeah. A bit of this, a bit of this, a bit of this. Yes. You want it. Any other reaction? I hope I have not frightened you.
I'm looking at this situation.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of situations like Shakahola and a few other situations. And the fear of these cults coming online, children not dying. It's a very scary situation.
It is a very, very scary situation. And I want to tell you, everybody who believed that pastor had an issue with themselves first and foremost. First and foremost. Either they don't believe in themselves, they believe so much external. Others were so controlled. Pack and we go. You pack and go. We are also going with our children. You don't even know where you are going, and you pack and go. You are told to fast. You fast to see Jesus. You don't even think about self. It is this. A lot of that. A lot of believing others and not believing self. Even when you feel, you have a gut feeling, this is not right. But because so and so said it, you do it. Yeah. It has a lot to do with how we were nurtured and taught to believe in ourselves and trust self even before you trust others. Yeah, it has a lot to do with that. Very scaring. Yes, very scaring. Yeah. Somebody who is disorganized will actually agree to meet and you start making arrangements. Let's go to Java. Yeah, lunchtime. Then she calls you or he calls you in the morning. Something has cropped up. And they are withdrawing. They asked for it. You knew it is okay. But in the last minute, what happens? They are withdrawing. Isn't it? Yeah. You know, we talked about intimacy. And in relationships, as they grow, and please don't misunderstand me, I'm born again and I'm a Christian. It gets to a stage where we can actually hold each other, isn't it? When you feel comfortable, that you can actually hold each other. That we can even hug as we leave each other, isn't it? We can even hug. And somebody leads and leads and leads you, and they want that hug. And then that's pursuing and withdrawing. So you're never sure. You see what she did? When I started hugging her, she actually gave me a hug also. She's even better than me. She's doing this. Isn't it? She actually hugged me. And I felt encouraged, isn't it? That is true of a relationship. You get there. You get there. You're getting close. But do you know there are some relationships you're never sure? Is she happy with me? Has she accepted me? Has he accepted me? I get close and then withdraws. What is it that happens? Oh, it's working and everything seems okay and we are going well, almost now telling our parents we'll be coming home. And you have no idea what happened. Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that is what you are calling about pursue, like they are getting close, then withdrawing. Yeah. I like the serenity prayer. It says, help me to accept the things I can change. No, help me to accept and change the things I can. Help me to accept the ones I cannot change. And help me to know the difference. Isn't it? So you can change. So you need to get out of a relationship where you feel controlled. Like I said, this will get worse in marriage, isn't it? You need to accept she or he may not change, but it's you who needs to get out. Or learn to be assertive and say, no. You cannot control me like a child. I'm a grown-up. There are certain things you may need to accept. You know, you start changing self and people around you will change. Number two, if people are so distant, they only touch on each other and not share anything, then you know that is not a relationship. Even if they are married, they share a house, period, isn't it? Thing in common, including parenting, yeah. This is the relationship we need to have with all human beings. That I have my space, but I also respect your space. That I am an individual, but you're also an individual. This is very healthy. By the way, this is very healthy. Even some of us who have grown-up children, we cannot keep controlling. You know, I have to ask, even my daughters, are you free on this weekend? I'm planning that we have a family, we may have guests. Are you free? Not to tell them, this weekend, please, we are meeting home. Upende usipende. They have their own life, isn't it? Some of them have their own families. I don't go intruding just because I'm a parent. I ask them, can we have the family meeting on this day? Is everybody agreeing? Oh, we okay. We are all agreeable on for this day, isn't it? But not for me to, because I'm a parent, to force issues. So that may be, but the one thing that needs to happen is that we need to understand ourselves and continue improving and changing ourselves. So like we said, the early attachment can have a serious impact on later relationship. I think we have done that. Those who are securely attached in childhood tend to have good self-esteem, strong romantic relationships, and the ability to self-disclose. You self-disclose, you open without fearing, without feeling intimidated, and you start, can you imagine if we are both self-disclosing until we're getting to know each other better? Yeah. As adults, they tend to have healthy, happy, and lasting relationships. Disorganized attachment, the parent has unresolved big T traumas. Sometimes, like I said, even as we can talk about childhood, let us all remember that our parents are also products of their environment, isn't it? They all came from somewhere. They didn't learn some skills. They were never nurtured. How do they nurture? How do they nurture? Some have very such as sexual abuse, physical abuse, alcoholism in the family. So if there is alcoholism in the family, it actually says that parent is not available. Number two, they cannot be trusted. Isn't it? Because a parent says, Daddy Mwalimu said we come with we should go with this book. Okay, we'll buy it. So the child, the next day, Daddy, did you buy the book? Go to school. Will you trust that person? Do you know we learn not to trust from our childhood? Who is there for me? Nobody is there for me, isn't it? Yes. So you know, if there is these are these things, or psychologically disturbed parents, if you have those things in the family, then of course they pass this to children. They become dissociated from self and detached from experiences that they are going through. Or they develop the disorganized attachment style that they project on their children. So most of our caregivers, my parents, they project. If you remember the example I gave about house helps, do you know many of us do not, even when we are interviewing, ask about somebody's background? Like I said, most Married people will look at the cleanliness. Where have you worked before? But they don't ask, what is your background? If that individual was abandoned, they will very easily abandon, isn't it? Yeah. So, having said that, then our childhood, now, let's come here. Now we are coming, we are getting to where we are talking. Somebody else also talked about how then do we heal. We say our experiences affect our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior. If you are pursuing and withdrawing, that is behavior, isn't it? If you are not trusting, it's affecting your thoughts. If you are withdrawing, it's about emotions. So they affect those three: our thoughts, our behaviors, and our emotions. So how do we heal? One, please learn to express emotions. Whether you are hurt, whether you are joyful, learn to express emotions. That way you are allowing the other person to know the core of your being. Number two, you are actually releasing pressure. So it's very important to learn. Number two, even to trust. By the way, trust we have to practice. That you can trust the other person without feeling anxious, without feeling they'll fail. Let them prove themselves. Some people do not trust at all. Number three, have self-compassion. If you are not nurtured well, do you know you can start by nurturing self? Let me give you an example. If we have a conflict, and one of us goes home and, maybe you are not the guilty one, but you start asking, I wonder what I did. Maybe I'm the one who caused this. I need to say sorry. Sometimes you don't even know what you're saying sorry for. And what we are saying, you are taking blame. The greater chunk of the blame. And sometimes it's not warranted. So sometimes it's good to have self-compassion on self and treat yourself the way you treat others. You remember when we were talking about earlier, avoidant and anxious. We give credit to others and hard on self, isn't it? So it's very important to start building self-compassion. Self-compassion says you also consider yourself. After all, the Bible says love others as you love. Yes, not love them more. Love others as you love yourself. So you need to love self and start thinking of how you can love self and treat yourself well. And do things that are good for self, things you enjoy. Parent self. We can actually parent self. Sometimes I teach my clients to just parent self. If you are never saying, can you start saying, my client told me the other day, I actually was teaching her that and said, how have you started parenting self? And she told, do you know these days I notice when I do well. So how do you encourage self? She's so used, that, what's up, isn't it? So she was telling me she's so used to that now these days. She doesn't wait for the others. If you say, that was good. Or even self-hug. You start practicing self-love you start practicing reparenting, and it's doable. Me, I do a lot of self-hugging. If you're not, you can't hug me, I hug myself. Yeah. It is good. You've done well, especially if I finish an assignment. It's good. So I will not wait. I may not have many people, especially in my profession, because I don't go sharing, so-and-so came, Jane from, Jane from, I cannot share with my husband. I will give the general ones, like I have told you, my client, but I'll never go beyond that and tell you she is called so-and-so from this university. In fact, she is doing that course. Then you may know her, isn't it? So I want to do general. That is the only thing we are allowed. You can give general information to help other people, but you don't go mentioning name. So I can't share with anybody. So I can only share with self, isn't it? Encourage self. Number 2, the other one is process your childhood trauma. This is so important. Processing yourself, your childhood trauma. The more you sit and remove it from the system, the more it ceases to have power on you. The more it ceases to have power on you. So it is important to process it as you build your self-esteem and heal from that shame. Isn't it? Yeah, you may have come from a family that really you can't even share, you can't talk about it, maybe only in a counseling room with a therapist. But you don't even know the other person's pain, isn't it? So I can live with my shame, and maybe it's not as big as that other person, isn't it? Number 2, for how long will past influence my future? It needs to stop somewhere so that I can work on today and tomorrow. And our past has a way of coming up. So it has to be reminded that now you are in the past. I have heard you, you are in the past. Allow me to move on. And remind yourself until your system knows now that one is behind. That is very, very important. What about spirituality? We say many authorities agree that children form their concept from their parents. I think I have said that again and again. As they watch their parents get excited or angry, they learn what is important. The child also observes godlike characteristics. Do you know our childhood can even affect the way we relate with God? Have you heard, Kenyans are very good at it, atachapwa na Mungu. You know that? Atachapwa, wait, because you only know kuchapwa. Sometimes you don't know the grace of God, the gracious Father. I was involved for a long time. I was a BSF, you know BSF, Bible Study Fellowship. By the way, they meet here, isn't it? Yes. So for many years, I was a leader. And one member in my group once said, do you know, we were doing the Gospels. Do you know, I relate with Jesus, but I don't know why I can relate. I cannot relate with God the Father. And she shared that in the group. Then I told her jokingly, I want to know about your background and your father, because she's okay with Jesus, but somehow she fears God the Father. She doesn't know this loving and gracious and embracing Father. But you know, we discovered it has everything to do with her worldly father. That it's so embedded in her brain that even in her spirituality, she's okay with Jesus, but she's not quite okay with God the Father. So it is true, we form our image. That if the parents' words and actions are loving, protective, and compassionate, then the child will most likely experience good emotional, relational, and spiritual health. It's a fact. So attachment concept contributes to the person's development of self-concept, relationship with others, and the view of God. That's how sad it is. Yeah. Because parents present God. Parents present God. I saw one research that actually talked about this, and I was amazed. Those of my age, mostly, we were brought up by Christians. They say took tender as a parents, isn't it? Some of them, they were very good. They were good. They had integrity. They had, I can look back at my parents and their friends, and I know they had integrity. They loved God. But some of them were so harsh. And that research was saying those are the ones whose parents rejected God. Isn't it sad? The ones that were harsh, and they themselves actually were Christian by any, yeah. And it is true even today. That research was about the revival, the parents. They took tender as a parents who embraced God during that revival. And they definitely, I am a product of that, and I know my parents and my neighbors and all those who are church elders and Christian leaders in that generation, they were good Christians. They would force us to read the Bible. They would, they would do things that were deeply Christian. But some of them were so harsh, and research was saying those that were harsh and did not look like God, the God they talk about, their children rejected God. That's how bad it is. Yeah, parents represent God to their children. They also provide emotional and spiritual foundation. They also are responsible of portraying God's reliability. That's parents for you. So they will affect the belief system. They will affect, the way you respond to a child's need. Then they can trust God, isn't it? They can trust God. When you are absent, then how do you trust that Father who is always with us? That concept is disturbed by a bad father. So God is an attachment figure. God is an attachment figure. And I want to just say that, child of God. God, that is attachment. If you are attached with God, really pray for that place where you can attach with God. Really pray for that place where others reach, where even in worship you are relating to a God who is real. You can actually heal your attachment issues. Because you start learning to trust God the Father, who is loving, who is non-judgmental, who is close, who is, who is an attachment figure. Then you can very easily learn to trust others. And that's why Christians who are truly Christians, and they relate with God at a very personal level, and they grow, they actually heal. They heal. Because then you start trusting self, you start trusting God, you start feeling accepted, and if it's God for me, who else, isn't it? And you start getting that confidence. It's God for us. Who else, isn't it? Yeah. So it is very important to work on our Christianity, and not just Christianity to do things, to teach Sunday school, to do what? Personal walk with God. Personal communication with God. Personal. I was discipled by a friend who would tell us, when she used to have a very deep personal communication with God. And she would pray and pray and pray and say, God, what are you saying? And I remembered when, I always remember sometimes that, not every day when I'm praying, but when I pray and ask and then keep quiet and wait and tell God, what are you saying? Father, what are you saying? What are you saying about this situation? What are you saying what I should do? And keep quiet. When I do that, I have never failed. I have never failed to hear God. Either reassuring, either promising, either comforting, or just telling me I'm here. We are together in this. And I feel heard. And I feel loved. And I feel secure. If He is for me, I don't care what else. I don't care what happens. So as attachment with God works miraculously. Asanteni.